Hello.
Thank you for meeting today to discuss your work bringing PM into context with children.
Yay. Let's
Yay.
go.
Okay. Uh, so I have so many questions for you. So I'll just spit some out and we can decide where to start. But like, how did you get into this? How did you find, you mentioned in your message, having institutional support for this? You were getting paid for it by a school or some company. Um, what were the practices that you brought to the children? Were there, any adjustments that you made along the way? I have so many questions. I just want to hear
How
about.
many questions were there? Like five?
That was already four. So I want to, yeah, I want to hear about all of it. So, yeah,
Mm,
wherever makes the most sense to begin.
cool. Thank you. And thank you for taking time and doing this interview and holding space for it. I think it's very important. And I wish that a lot of people can do work with children, especially if they come from any next culture context and they have a bit upgraded thoughtware and distinctions from what modern culture have, like what the teacher are getting and the people that work with kids usually are getting. So I'm glad that you're doing that. So I the question that caught my ear was about the funding thing, because the the strange thing, when I started, I didn't believe that I would do it because I knew I wanted to work with kids, but I actually got to register my program in the Ministry of Education,
Mm-hmm.
and I could do, like, I didn't got to do it because of like other logistics and like the business aspect of that, because I was doing a lot of other workshops, so I was not really on to call in the schools and like arrange it, and I was
Right.
already working with another company that just she just gave me like already the spots they had, but I could have done it like to just go with my own workshop, registered in the Ministry of Education together with the whole context, like distinctions from PM, like
Mm-hmm.
um,
So
so
would you need to be, and this is in Israel, right? So it's
yeah,
the Ministry of Education. Yeah, okay. Um, and so would you then need to be incorporated, like be an LLC or something like that? I mean, I'm sure the rules are different depending on the country, but yeah. Do you know about that at least for Israel?
yeah, you could be just freelance. You could do it as a
Okay.
freelance.
Yeah.
You don't
Okay.
even have to be a company.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, because
Um,
there are a lot of you know therapists and stuff like that that are freelance. So they
mhm.
open it for also for freelance, and there was a lot of program being uh, presented in the last like few years. Like a lot of people, like my friend is doing gardening therapy with the kids. They were
Yeah.
doing gardens together, and people doing mindfulness and yoga and all sorts of like improv. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's super cool. And you came across it because you were already working for a company that was
yeah,
connected with the Ministry of Education. Is that right?
yeah. I was already doing through a company, and then someone told me that I can register my own program.
Yeah.
So I did, but then that year I was like, I already flew and I became a nomad, so
Yeah.
I didn't end up like.
What was the company you were working for? Were you also doing workshops for that company, or was it something else?
Yeah, so I started with a guy that was doing, his whole thing was giving like, it was actually youth, like 16, 17-year-old kids, and it was about like accessing um like technology and teaching them about technology and what they can use with them.
Mm.
And it sounds surprising because they have the phone and everything, but they're not really conscious in how they're using it.
Yeah.
So he brought more content, like conscious content into it. So I was doing that, and but then he basically saw that I'm serious, and he told me like, do your thing with them. You don't
Mm.
have to stick to what I wrote.
Mm.
And then I was like, starting to go there, and I was starting to bring in distinctions like about feelings
Mm.
and about low drama. They had low drama, teenagers.
Mm.
And I started to bring that stuff like who you are, like, 16, 17, they're already starting to look like what's my role in the world? What am I doing here?
Mm.
So I used to do it like through Canva, like design yourself, a card or design yourself like a page
Mm.
with them. And then all the questions come up, and then it started like conversations and
So you would have them design a page on Canva
for
about themselves.
themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, about what they like, about their passion, and then their whole conversations like what do I like, and what does it mean about me, and who I'm really beyond the things that
Mhm.
that I like, beyond the box.
Mhm. Mhm. And this was not your first time working with kids also. Is that correct?
No, no, no. I grew up working with kids. It was my summer job when I was like a teenager to work with kids in the kibbutz. I grew up in a
Mhm.
kibbutz,
Mhm.
so we had like the kindergartens and the older kids, and I also was in a youth movement. The
Mm.
Noar Oved Valomed.
Mm.
I used to be a counselor there, and then I worked in the states as a counselor in the states
Mhm.
in a summer camp, in a Jewish summer camp. So I did like a lot of working with kids during the years.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. So you already had this background, this context of working with children.
Yeah, and I always had this connection. It was weird. I once went to like a fortune teller, like an old witch.
Yeah.
She was like discovering your writing.
Yeah.
When with your writing, she knew everything about you.
What did
Super scary.
what did she know? What did she tell you?
Oh my God, this woman is like, until today, she tells me things that I'm waking up in the middle of the night and I'm like, how did she know?
Really? Like what? Tell me.
I drew some things and she knew everything about me. Like, so she said that I should work with kids and I'm really good with kids.
Mm.
And she said there is some connection, like the child in you or something.
Mm.
And I was like, no, I'm gonna study like film or business.
Mhm.
But then I end up, doing that. It's
Mhm.
funny.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love kids. I love working with them. Yeah.
Cool. Um, okay. So you came to this uh, through this kind of this meandering path of you were working with children, you saw an opportunity, and when you posted, because you posted in the PM group asking people for
Possibility management.
yes, thank you.
For those who don't know.
Yes, yeah, this specifically the Possibility Creation Village is the name of that group, I believe.
Hmm.
And you were asking for suggestions of what you could do with the kids. Was that your first time thinking about how to run the workshop?
I don't remember. I was After that. I was already starting to work with younger kids because I got into this company that do theater. They offer theater and they give you
Mm-hmm.
like this huge bag full of costumes,
Oh,
and they give you
so
a
cool.
story for
Okay.
each time, and you
Mm-hmm.
kind of tell them the story,
Uh huh.
and you dress them in costumes, and they're supposed to do that. And that like gave me like this idea, that I can take stuff and put it into theater. I also did like improv and before, so I was kind
You
of into
have,
improv.
sorry, Doris, something just came over your camera. If you can, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Um,
There's leaves here.
okay. um, okay, cool. And how, yeah, so how did that go? So you had all these costumes. There was like a story. Were you like the narrator and you were kind of like telling the story and then, yeah, how did it work? Was there a
Yeah,
script? Yeah.
this company gave you like a script that you need to tell a story, and you give them, and there's like a few games with the props, with the costume.
Mm.
But I took it to a whole nother level. Like I brought into it like improv,
Mm.
and I started to do these games where I tell a story. Usually it was about pirates and like magicians and
Yeah.
kings, and like I wanted to get them into the archetypal realms. And and they dressed up as like the soldiers or the pirates, and then they kind of like I narrate the story and they need to play the story. So there's like a series in every activity. There's like a series of improv games, and every game you get them to participate more. Like in the first game, it's just pantomima. You know what is pantomima?
Yeah, pantomime.
Yeah. So in the first game, it's just pantomime, and they need to describe the room. So they go in a line, and you say, okay, the first one is to describe like 3 objects in pantomime. And I go first, and I open like a chest, and it's like, oh, gold, yes! And I take the gold, and I get like a sword, and they start to do it one by one. And then the next game, it's like a story that I narrate. I narrate the story with the pirates and the soldier. This soldier, the British soldier, robbed the pirates took the British soldier's boat, and they're going into the sea, but then they're drowning. And will the soldiers save them or not? Like it becomes like a dilemma, and the kids are like puzzled. They're like, what would we do? And then in the third like game, it's like in the final game, they're really like, I just give them the stage and they start acting. It's like, you're the king. So I give to one of the kids that was, maybe was shy, or maybe was people were bullying it, like the kids were bullying him or something. I give them to be the king or the warrior. So in the theater, you can like, I can do this role playing and do like this energetic shift in him can happen.
Cool.
So I give them these specific roles, and then they like play and pull out. They're like improvising the show. It's like super cool.
Wow. Okay. And how old were these kids?
So they're like first grade till third grade. In Israel, it's like, I think like something like 6 till 9.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, that would be the same in the US. Yeah, 6 to 9. Okay. Okay, cool. And so this was still another company that you were involved with, right? This was
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then it like opened my mind, and I was like, maybe I think that's what happened, that I needed to speak to PM about it, and I asked for ideas. Like I was like, team, anyone have ideas? How can I bring more of that work into that world? And I don't remember what happened, but I started to do then the centering. Like I invented the whole centering process for kids, because I don't know if you worked in school, but you go into the school and they're super uncentered. They're basically like, they're hijacked from sugar and hormones, and like it's chaos.
Yes.
And so I did a centering for them, and it works. Like the whole class shifts when you do a centering process for them.
Cool. Can you tell me what that process looks like?
You want me to show you a little video? Back then I made a little video when I opened the company, whatever.
Yeah, I would love that.
I can show you. It's a bit old, but yeah, I'll show you. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
So this is them like dressed as as like a pirate and a dragon and like all these costumes.
Is there volume? Is there sound on the video?
Yeah, you don't hear the sound?
I can't hear it really, but it's okay. I get
No, because I didn't share the sound. Let's try now.
Yeah.
Can you hear it now?
Yes.
ואני צייד הדרקונים האחרון.
אני אקליט את הדרקונים האחרון?
ואני אתפוס אותך. I'm narrating for you. נפתה לחוף פיראטית, כובע שחור. Pirate Black Hat just landed on the beach and left their evil laugh. This is before the centering. Like, just take a deep breath. Take a ball, throw it in the air, and catch. שימו בכדור הזה את כל מה שקרה לכם היום. take everything that happened to you and put it in the bowl. Everything from the past, everything that grabs your attention, and everything from the future, and take the ball like your energetic center and put it on your physical center. Look, they're all hypnotized. Like,
Yeah.
and then they were like clicking the grounding cord. That's the older kid. This is a school in Jaffo. So there's a whole centering process, and this is like one of the final games. Like they're already, they're already going wild at this point.
Yeah.
This girl, I made her like put a boundary. That's what we worked on the class. So she's saying this like no more to this kid.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like a gremlin kid, he's like going wild. I mean, he's playing like a wild character, using his gremlin. He's like improvising. He's really a little genius, this kid. And then I like put music and he's dancing. Like the end of the show, they all get together and dance. Sometimes I play with them. Yep.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Welcome. I feel joy just watching that. Like such great memories,
And when was that? How long ago is that now?
It's like, I think 2 years ago, something like that.
Okay. And how many workshops did you do? How long were you working with the kids?
About a year. Like the whole school thing was like about a year. I did like a lot of schools, a lot of groups, a lot of kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were working with a different school each time. You would take the workshop and you would do a different one each week or something like that.
Yeah, sometimes it was a new school every week, but sometimes I used to return to the same school, and I did like every week, so they remember me, they already know me. They're running up to me and they're like, "Oh, it's the guy with the centering. Look, we're doing it. The bubble. The bubble." Yeah.
Cool. And how long were the workshops?
It's I think it was, sometimes it's just one class, like just an hour.
An hour, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I think they gave me like 2 hours, no break in the middle. Like an hour and a half, like 45, 2 classes combined.
Okay.
I think that was usually.
Yeah, that's a lot of time. That's like a good chunk of time to work with.
Yeah. When you get into that, like it's really flying. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't have time. I wanted to do another game and another game. It's like.
Yeah. I'm curious about whether you have like any kind of written resources that people could share if they're wanting to bring this work to schools. Like, did you write down like lesson plans, or did you write down the centering process or anything like that?
And no. The short answer.
Yeah. Is there a longer answer?
Yeah, actually we had a team about it, because I started to train people to replace me to do that before I left. So we had a little team, and I think we started to work on a website, and we started to write some stuff.
Yeah.
It might be in Hebrew. I need to check.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I would be interested in that. And if that's something I could help, if you need help bringing it to English, I could help with that also.
Sounds cool. I actually have a proposal. What if we do the centering process right now, the one that
Yeah.
I'm doing to kids?
Yeah.
And then people that just see this video, they can just do at least that.
Yeah, great idea.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I need to stand up?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so the whole deal is that when I'm coming into the class, I'm already like breaking the teacher character. So I'm coming with like elven ears or with a pirate hat. It's like I'm coming dressed up, you know? It's like,
yeah.
so everyone is like already like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Are you an elf? And then I'm, okay, my name is Dor. I'm a pirate and I'm a magician. And today I'm going to teach you a magic. Who wants to learn a magic? Yes. Okay, great. So it starts like this. Everyone stand up and take a deep breath. Do another time. Shake it. Everything. Now take a ball from your stomach. Take a ball and put it here and throw it in the air and catch. And throw it higher and catch. And throw it the most high you can. Let's see you. Got it. Great job. Now take this ball and put it exactly in the center of your stomach, underneath your belly button. And this ball is going to wait for you there. Now take another ball from your head, from here, and put it above your head. Hold it here and put inside of it everything that happened to you today. The teacher annoyed you or something happened to you today, and put it inside the ball. And take everything that is distracting you right now, all the voices that you hear in the class next door, take all of it and put it in the bowl. And take everything from what you're going to do later. Your mom is going to make you a sandwich. Your dog is going to wait for you at home, and put that inside this bowl. And with both of your hands, take that bowl and bring it down, all the way down, and put it on the first bowl in your stomach. Yes, you're doing so great, Anna. Now, use this. Can you do this? Great. So you use this, we call this your clicker, and you create a rope, a magical rope that goes from the balls and into the earth, connecting you to the center of the earth. And this rope has a certain color, and it's like this thick, and it has a color and it has a texture. It's almost sparkling. So click with me and create it. Great. Now keep your eyes closed. And on the count of 3, I'm going to tell you to name the color of your rope. But when you say it, say just one time quietly. How many times you're going to say it?
Once.
Just once. Yes, great. Really quiet, because then if you don't do that, everyone yell. So ready? 1, 2, 3.
White.
Orange. Great. Now we're going to use the clicker again, and we're going to create a bubble around you. And this bubble keeps you only your emotions and energy and information inside of it. So you click your bubble and create this bubble around you. And try to feel it with your hands. Try to feel your bubble around you. Yes. And you see you two in the back just separate a little bit because you're too close to each other. Yes. Great. You're doing amazing. Now, everyone got it? who wants me to test him if the bubble worked? Great, Anna, come here, stand next to me. And now, who wants to test Anna? So you bring another kid.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, one kid is doing this in front of her bubble.
Mm.
And when it's crossing your bubble, you need to close your eyes. And when you feel it's crossing your bubble, you say now.
Mm. Okay.
You get it? So then one kid goes and they're like, and then if he feels it, you say now. If he doesn't feel it, you're coaching him.
Yeah. Does it? So
you're like,
yeah. So what do you do? How do you do the coaching? Because actually, this is we did a similar experiment in my ETB, and like I could never tell. Like someone would be like right here, and I'd be like stop, or they would be like all the way across the room. So yeah, how do you coach them?
So there's a couple of things about it. Like if you do it with older kids, they're doing this with their gremlin. So it doesn't work because they know how to manipulate you. They're like almost starting, but they don't start because they want to, they want to make it not work. So it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But if you really practice it, you can sense. I mean, you can at the beginning do this to them and tell them to move next to each other's hand. And then they feel it next to their hand, so they know what to look for, what's feeling.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And then if they don't get it, it's funny, but the little kids usually get it.
Yeah.
But if they don't get it, you're like, okay, you're doing great. Check again if you're centered. Usually what happens, they give their center to the class. So you tell them like, pick all the balls from everywhere and bring them here. Balls in Hebrew, by the way, it's a different word. It's like a volleyball. It's not the same word in English. I'm just saying.
Okay.
So
interesting.
And so you collect.
Is
you
it
tell
the
them,
size
collect
of a
your
volleyball?
balls. No, I mean it has a different name. It's like we have a different name for a ball that's like a volleyball or a basketball.
Yeah.
Than to balls. If you would say balls to kids, it would probably sound funny in English.
Okay.
Because like collect your balls. It's
okay.
I don't know.
I see. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
You get it?
Yeah.
So, you don't like collect the balls. You're giving your balls to the class. So bring your balls and take them back. Okay. See how it's funny?
Yes. Okay.
In English.
Yeah.
And clicker again. What's the color? Ask each other. So I do it like 3 times with different kids. And then I show them how to test each other. Because sometimes they would do too fast to test each other. Or, or sometimes they're too close to each other. So you teach them how to test each other. And then you're like, okay, go into couples in the room, spread out and start testing each other. And it's such a great activity.
Cool.
Like they're going crazy for that.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's really awesome. Thank you for showing me that.
Welcome. What about you? Tell me, what are you up to with kids, with this work? Why are you curious about that?
Yeah, I'm curious about it. I work with kids, so I'm a substitute teacher in an elementary school, actually in a Waldorf school. I don't know if you're familiar with Waldorf at all, but they have a very specific philosophy and approach. And yeah, I'm interested because, I'm passionate. I'm passionate about working with kids, and there are multiple parts to it for me. Like one part of it is I see myself as a teacher doing things automatically, just kind of replicating these patterns that I actually don't want to do. And so part of it for me
like
is...
what? Like yelling at them, like, get out of class.
Yeah, it's usually not even something so obvious like yelling, but you know, like rescuing, like rescuing a child who doesn't need to be rescued, um, or um, yeah, one thing that came up the other day. I was having a conversation with uh, another woman, and she shared that with her daughter, strangers will often come, and if her daughter isn't getting what she wants, um, then a very common tactic that strangers will use is to be like, it's okay, like here, look, you can have like this thing instead, like, don't cry, or something like that, which is a very
Mm-hmm.
like kind of, yeah, I'm gonna
It's
say,
almost an instinct with mothers,
yeah, it's a,
parents, with parents.
yeah, I would say it's, yeah, just a pattern um, that we're so accustomed to we don't even think about it. Instead of using a completion loop with the child and saying, okay, like, I hear, yeah, you're sad, you're upset that you didn't get this toy, like, I hear that you're sad, and just holding space for the feeling, instead of trying to fix it and trying to solve it. So yeah, that's one part of it for me. And then um, yeah, just I think, I don't know, there's a lot of like exciting stuff that's happening in the PM group right now around like education, or school and learning. I have seen like just so many posts from so many people who are thinking about this sort of thing of like, yeah, how do we want to educate or not educate our children? And um, yeah, like working with kids is so important to me. And I started out, and I still do this. I work as a tutor for like standardized test prep. So in the US, we have like the SAT and the ACT, and they're these like big standardized tests that are so important because you need to do well on the test, because if you do well on the test, then you get to go to a good college, and if you go to a good college, then you succeed in life, and blah blah blah. um, and and so I was doing this for a while, and at a certain point I was like, wow, this really like isn't what I want to be doing. Like, I really don't want to be reinforcing these values. Um, and so that was when I made the pivot to, okay, I'm interested in Waldorf. I'm interested in that philosophy, which is much more holistic. It's about nurturing the whole child. And it's not just in the mental body. It's not just about the brain. There's a lot of like movement, um, and they do a lot of, it's very artistic. They have like, yeah, painting classes and woodworking classes that are like a core part of the curriculum. um, and each lesson is supposed to involve head, heart, and hands. So the heart usually begins with a story. So there's a story that um, makes the children uh, interested and makes them care about what they're learning. Like, it's a story that has like, love, or like a relationship, or yeah, something that involves the heart. And then there's the head component, is like, okay, this is the mental body, like, this is what we're learning today, is like addition or something, or subtraction. And so, yeah, maybe you're learning about subtraction, and so like the heart story is about like losing something that's important to you, or something like that. And then the hands is doing some kind of practical, hands-on activity. So you're like making a craft, or you're using marbles, or something like that. So it's not just in the mental body, it's also in the physical body. Um, so yeah, and so I'm excited about.
What do you think is missing there? In that, what would you want to bring there? Because I think Waldorf is already an advancement in school technology, whatever.
Yeah.
what do you see that is missing there, or you want to bring there that is not there yet?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that even though there are all these components that are really great, what I see missing, what is not so much a part of it, is like the feelings work of like being, yeah, just being really in touch with your feelings and like having space to feel them. Um, and yeah, I think that like I think even though a lot of the teachers are much more, I guess, progressive, for lack of a better word, like it's still possible, as we were saying with the example just then, it's like very easy to still fall into these patterns of like, this is just this kind of automatic pattern that like I've learned because it was what people did to me through my childhood and because it's what I see other people doing. Um, and so there isn't as much awareness, it feels like, around how how we can how we can really like empower children as they are growing up to be their full authentic self. So that's what's missing for me.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's really missing, huh? I'm really sad about that.
Yeah.
I I had one time that there was this kid crying outside the school, and I came to him and I started to hold space for him cry, and he was in my class just before, so we were kind of connecting before. And so with kids, when you ask him like, what do you feel, it doesn't really land because they're not used to speak like that. Like nobody speaks with them like that, so
Yeah.
they're not used, they don't know how to say like, I feel this and this. So I was like, but you feel sad? And he was like, yes. And like, you feel sad because, and he's like, I don't know, someone took his this, they got a little like lunch like candy thing, and someone took it. It's like, this girl took my thing. And I was like, you're sad because this girl took your thing? It's like, yes. And he's crying, and I'm holding space for him. It was so beautiful. And then the sport teacher came after me,
Yeah.
and he was like, why are you crying? Get up. It's okay. Stop crying. Get up. Go there. Stop doing that. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it is really sad. And yeah, and I notice it like even in my relating with children, like my niece, um, who is 2.5, and there's this instinct to be like, don't cry, like there's nothing to cry about, like there's nothing to cry about is like, yeah, something that like I definitely like, I don't know. At one point, I would have been like, yeah, like there's nothing to cry about. Like say that to the child so that they know it's okay. Like that would be that was how I thought about it, and now I'm like horrified that I have said that to children, that I've been like, there's nothing to cry about. Like I feel sad about that.
so. What do you feel about that? Because I'm going with this question, and I did sometimes workshops for kids, and I did a bit of older than like 9, 10, and the kid really got the emotion part. Like for example, I used to do guitar, and I used to tell them each song has a special emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like playing anger like rock, and then I'm playing sad music, and they get it like sadness. So that's joy. That's
Mm-hmm.
And so we did this whole thing about sadness, and then this girl came to me in the end of the class. She was boiling crying, and I was and what happened? And she said, in my house, my parents don't allow me to be sad and to cry. They don't allow it. She was bawling, crying. I was really broke my heart.
Yeah.
And then like I don't know if I see her again.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, I just leave her there, and you know she's back to her house. She's back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wonder what's coming up for you about it, because I have a lot of sadness about it. Like
Yeah.
what's coming up for you about, you know, when you work with kids and then somehow they're going back to a home that their parents don't have those distinctions, they don't have that kind of context. And
Yeah.
I think in Waldorf school, it's just the parents, but in the regular school, is like the school is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like regular school, it's like a gang for sensitive kids. It's like a gang prison. So you know, you
Yeah.
send them back there. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that for children, if even one person tells you that it's okay to be sad, you will remember that and you will carry that with you. And it's not necessarily going to solve all your problems. It's not going to solve all your problems, but it has the power to do a lot of good, I think. Like I can remember from my childhood like moments when someone, you know, really like took care with me, or um yeah, really held space for me. And I still remember those. I still remember those moments. Um so yeah, you know, there's only so much we can do, right? Like you don't have power over other people's external circumstances and the kind of home that they go to at the end of the day. But that's not a reason to not do everything you can while you're in that moment and that space with that child.
thank you.
Yeah. What comes up for you about it?
Really sets fire in me, and as you shared, it reminded me like that's why I did that. You know, and that's why, because like you can really change a kid's life with just one meeting. And I remember still things that like my instructors or counselors said to me that were, you know, that really changed my life. I still
Yeah.
remember them. So
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of burns the fire in me, the rage about what are kids going through
Yeah.
today. And maybe something that I want people that are maybe watching them, I want to encourage them that like people are not really ready for those distinctions. And I mean, we have people that going into our workshops. For example, we're doing rage clubs and space holder trainings, and people are learning those distinctions. And those are people that want to get into that. But a lot of people, they have kids and they're not on that path
Yeah.
of transformation. So they're not going to bring that stuff home, at least not today, not tomorrow. Like, so what I want to encourage people that are watching that they're planning to go to work with kids because they have the same fire that like I hear from you and that I have from me, that maybe they're going to need to go rogue a bit. They're going to be a bit of a pirate in that. Like when I went to school, like I did a lot of stuff that, you know, for example, uh, you know, that I did a class and I put the boundary thing and the anger. I taught kids how to use their anger. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to talk about it to the, you know, to the principal about
Yeah.
like the anger, because they don't have that context
Yeah.
about anger.
Yeah. It won't land.
And you know, when I speak to parents, sometimes I create that space of feeling. I create that space without like, here's what you need to do with your kid. Like here how you need to educate your kid. I'm like, no.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I sit with parents and I just create that space. I'm pirating the space with them and I sneak that stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling them stories about how I work with kids. So it's like you might need to be a bit of a renegade when
Mm-hmm.
you're going to bring this into the world.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Think non-linearly. Yeah.
yeah,
About how to bring it.
that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Um, yeah, that's something I wonder about as well. Is like, yeah, did you have to, did you have to bring like a lesson plan to the school and be like, I'm gonna have the kids like feel their anger? Like, it sounds like no for you. It sounds like you didn't have to do that, but that's yeah.
I mean, now I think schools and stuff are more open, and I'm running to, when I'm working here in Israel, I'm running to great people, at least in the level of like, and really open all these plans that are very like spiritual, like
Mm-hmm.
even mindfulness, and like, a lot of like, they really open it now. So there is, when I wrote my project, when I worked my workshop, and it was approved by the Minister of Education,
Mm-hmm.
I put all of that. Like I
Mm.
put feelings work in there,
Mm.
and yeah, but
Yeah, interesting. Okay, it's good to know that that worked for you in that case.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I would love to ask you a bit more about like the centering that we did together was so helpful, I think. And are there any other like specific exercises that we could either do together, or yeah, I want to ask you about like kind of the boundary setting is one that I have some questions about. So yeah, I want to go into some more specifics if we can of the some of the things you were doing.
Yeah, and it's connected to what I wanted to tell you before about how did I brought it in. It's like you say it's theater.
Mm,
So
mm-hmm.
everything you do with your, if it's theater, it's okay because it's theater. They're just playing a
Right,
king that puts a boundary to the
right,
dragon.
right. That is really interesting. Yeah, and that's something I definitely would not have thought of. I didn't do a lot of theater as a kid or anything like
Me
that.
neither.
Really? Okay. Um, but
I did improv when I grew up, but I never
yeah,
did it as a kid. I didn't do real theater so much. So
okay. But now you do, or you just do it with
yeah,
kids,
I
or
just bring improv games and I
yeah,
bring costumes, so it becomes theater.
yeah,
And I'm also like, I'm naturally going into characters, and like I'm very
yeah,
um, theatrical, let's say. But
yeah.
I really love, that's also how I hold space in my workshops. I try not to plan too much,
Hmm.
and I try to create the games or the experiments in my workshop on the go from what's alive.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
for example, if there is a kid in the class that is getting bullied in front of my eyes,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's play a game. I'm gonna teach you how to set a boundary. Come to the center, and I take the other kid that bullied them, and I put them here
Mhm.
in front of them, and I'll say, okay, now you're gonna say them no. Just yell no,
Yeah.
and it's like it's okay. It's part of the class. So
Wow.
and I'm bringing her friends to support her,
Mm.
or maybe I'm like, you're a princess now. Here's a hat of a princess, and then like you do that, and I'm doing it in a way that like, also the naughty kid is like the bully kid, he gets it.
Mhm.
It's not like, it's like part of it, and I'm like, I'm telling him also like, come a bit closer so she can do that. So he's like, he's playing the game too.
Mhm.
So uh, yeah, like the shy kid, the whole show is like, he needs to go to the forest and bring the magical forest friends
Uh huh.
and gather them up. So I stop it, and it's like, okay, talk to them. He needs to talk to them, and then he's like, he's doing it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, great, everyone clap for him. It's like,
Yeah. Wow. Wow. And so okay, and so you're just doing this on the fly. You're just
I'm
creating.
improvising.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and a lot. If you go, I can send you. I have a list of like improv games
Yeah.
for kids.
That would be great.
So I do a lot of that for them with like
Okay.
improv kids.
Yeah.
You can take. There's also one really cool thing that someone told me. Someone from PM told me. I forgot who, but they were. I think it's Hannah from Berlin.
Hmm.
she told me she has a game that she went into class and she's like, everyone, you need to. I'm gonna count 1 minute in my watch, and you all need to close your eyes and count 1 minute in your heart inside.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone close your eyes and count till 1 minute. And when you think it's 1 minute, you raise your hand and we'll see who won.
Yeah.
And the kid that won get a prize. And they all get so quiet, the whole class gets go quiet and they concentrate for 1 minute.
Yeah, that's great.
This one works. I adopted that,
Yeah, that's a good trick. Yeah, I'm still thinking about this theater thing that you shared. Like it's so interesting how I can see how it would make like a really safe space for kids to explore things that they wouldn't otherwise explore because school is such a specific context and they already feel that they have roles in school, right? Like there's always some kind of class dynamic. So in addition to the student teacher dynamic, there's a dynamic of, oh, I'm the quiet one, or I'm the funny one, like I'm the class clown or whatever. And so making it, okay, this is theater, is like, okay, you have a new role. Like this is not your role anymore.
Yeah.
So
I grew up on sorry, you want to complete that?
no, I was just gonna say I really love that. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. I grew up on Dungeons and Dragons. Like
Mm,
we used to play it from third grade till I was 17.
mm,
And you get a role, you get a character, and really opens your mind to what is possible.
mm-hmm.
So I also I guided, like I did not workshop, I don't know how to say, like I did facilitate like Dungeons and Dragon games for kids.
Okay.
And that also really worked to work on what you said, like this kid has a character but now gets to play some other character.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a warrior, he's a magician.
Yeah.
So I took that into the theater and I'm giving them to play the warrior to the shy kid.
Mm-hmm.
But also a really cool thing I forgot about it that I do a lot with kids is I tell us when I every time that I go into class, I start with a story.
Mm,
And I always tell the same story.
mm,
It's like if I go to the class the second time, I'll tell the second story.
okay.
But because I told him so many times that it's really great. Sorry, I have a call. That is really so great for kids. It's like they love this story. It's a story about I was in a pirate town and there was all these pirate and animals in Costa Rica, and I was sad because I was missing my mom and I didn't have any money. So I was walking to the beach and then I see there's no one in the beach. Not even kids playing. It was so strange. And I looked around and all the kids are like, what? And there was all these animals when I walked into the jungle. And then I got to the beach, no one is around. And then I look into the water and I see something. I'm almost about to go in. I'm about to take off my shirt. I'm with my bathing suit. I'm about to go in. Then I see something swimming in the water. And then they start to guess, what is
Uh-huh.
this thing?
Uh-huh.
And it's such a great story because they almost never get what animal is that.
Mm.
They're like a fish, shark, this, jellyfish, and all the kids get play because it's like such a simple game that everyone gets involved. And then like after like 3, 5, something 10 minutes, one kid get it. It's like, and I'm like, no, bigger, no, smaller, no, that's this. It was green.
Yeah.
And then one kid is like, get it like an alligator. Yes,
Oh.
you got it. Like it's almost, and it's always like the quiet kid that is like hearing what his parents actually telling them when they go abroad.
Uh-huh.
Because they only get it if their parents were in Costa Rica or something and they tell them about alligators.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So and anyway, so it's like, and then sometimes what I do instead of the whole thing, I let them tell stories. So I say, who has a story?
Mm,
And I just hold space for them to tell the story.
yeah.
And I'm like, hey, you be quiet. You do this. It's like, let them tell the story. And they probably never tell a story, or no one actually really listened to them.
Mm,
Sometimes in the middle of the class or the games, some kids start to feel something.
mm-hmm.
And I really I stop everything.
Mm,
And I'm like, hearing them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go.
Mm.
Like maybe what you feel, and just like
Yeah.
nobody listens to them almost. So they get to like
Mm.
tell a story in front of the whole class, even the shy kids, for like 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's also like a cool game or something.
Mm. Can you give an example of a time that happened where you stopped the class because somebody was feeling something?
I mean, in every class, like a kid start to cry because he didn't get the role he wants, and I'm just like stopping. And
Mm.
it's like you feel
Okay.
sad, yes,
Yeah, yeah,
feel
yeah.
sad doing completion. But I had one time, it was crazy. They gave me this class that was in a school that it was really like problematic kind of school,
Mm.
and I grew up in a really problematic kind of school. But I when I work in the center, I didn't even got to that kind of level of school. That school was like a little bit less hardcore with the level. I mean, the level of like violence between kids, or like a level of like how much kids are allowed to harass the teacher, like
Mm.
how much kids are allowed to make a mess in the class.
Mm.
So it wasn't that bad like the school I grew up with. It's like it was a bit more than the school that I was used to work, and it was like kids like around 12. And I got to this school, and there was, and I did like a few class with them theater. There was one girl, she was like really sensitive, and I already recognized like there's the sensitive kids that there's like not in that school, but in other schools that I came. There's sometimes the kid that is coming to ruin the class for you. And the moment you come in, everyone is looking at him because they know this guy's gonna ruin the class. You already know.
Right.
So sometimes I'm like, I'm coming in, and right away I'm getting is interrupting once. I'm telling him that's the last time. Interrupting again. I'm like, off you go. Go to your teacher. You're
Mm-hmm.
not here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm holding this like, if you don't want to be here, go.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
But so I'm like, I have strong boundaries also when I'm holding spaces for kids.
Mm.
But this time there was a sensitive kid, and there was one kid. He was like super like a joker. It was like really, really like mean.
Mm-hmm.
He was like really pushing hard on the sensitive kids.
Mm.
He was like controlling the whole class.
Mm.
One time we had a class outside. It's like all hell broke loose. Like this kid got all the bullies. It's like really, really smart kid. It's like getting all the bullies, sending them to the sensitive kids to bully the sensitive kids. And it's like they really got out of control. Like the kids were climbing the fences and stuff.
Wow.
And then yeah, it was like crazy. It never happened to me. And it's like kids send one of the bullies to tell this sensitive girl exactly what he knew that would hurt her. So he
Mm.
said like, you would never find a boyfriend because you're hideous. So it's like this girl is like in tears. It's like broken. It's like I'm with me. There's like 8 sensitive kids,
Mm.
and the rest of the class is just chaotic and outside.
Mm.
So it's just like holding this bubble around us,
Mm-hmm.
just like holding this bubble for these kids to hold space for what is happening. I'm holding space, feeling, and I'm like starting to talk to her about what she's feeling. Is I'm doing completion loops and stuff, and she's starting to be with me. And it's like everyone, the whole little group, starting to be together.
Mm.
And we're like ignoring the thing, and I'm starting to talk to her, and I'm telling her, listen, you're very sensitive, right? She said yes, and I'm like, you have to go to this school. She's like, yes, my parents wouldn't let me do anything, like not go to school, go to another school.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I know it's hard for you. I was sensitive, and you can look at the school as this training ground for you. You can use, because when you get out of here, I promise you, it's going to be great. You're going to have spaces for sensitive kids like you. You're really going to have like a great life.
Mm-hmm.
But just for right now, like that's the kids you have in class. You're going to need to like. So from now on, they're like your training. They're your training. You need to.
Mm.
So it's like kind of, I don't know, talking to her, open this like space about her there.
Yeah. Did that seem like it landed with her?
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah, with her and all the little group, like we're in kind of like this bubble.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. That's awesome. I feel, yeah, I feel really glad about that, that you were able to hold that space for them and give them that possibility of like, okay, this is just how it is right now, but it's not going to be like this forever. So, yeah, I'm trying to think what else. So you're not working with kids right now. You're not doing your workshops now.
I'm, I'm working with my nephews
Okay. How many nephews do you have?
too,
How old are they?
but they're like 3 and 6.
Okay.
A little girl, 3 years old, and 6-year-old boy.
Okay.
We really go wild together. Like I'm experimenting with them. Like, we're making the whole house like a big mess and like a game, and we're like throwing stuff at each other. They're not allowed usually to do that. It's like throw stuff. I'm allowing them to beat me up, to jump on my back,
Uh-huh.
like really creating a mess. And I took them and I made bows with
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Like we went outside, we found sticks, and I took like a guitar strings, and we
Mm.
made bows.
Wow.
And taking them into our nature. We live in the desert, so kids almost don't get to do that. They
Mm.
don't get to go into nature anymore.
Yeah.
For us, we were like, we're like stray dogs. We're just like hanging around everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Now today, they need like a security guard. They need like their parents. So I'm just like taking them and doing like wild stuff. I think really that's what I would do with kids today. Just like hold space for them to, in a safe way, of course, but to just like go wild a bit, do
Mm.
things they're not allowed to do so much. To just like get in touch to their like really wild kid in them.
Mm.
Because all the games they get is this or
Right.
this or like a board thing.
Yeah.
It's like I take kids to just throw rocks
Yeah.
at something like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, I wonder about also, I mean, a classroom. I'm thinking about I'm thinking about that experiment with like a classroom of kids versus like two kids. And I'm like, okay, I think like two kids maybe is like, it makes a bit more sense. As like, yeah, as a teacher, I'm like, that sounds terrifying to me, to like let them go wild, because I'm like, there's so many ways that they can hurt themselves. So, and I know you said in a safe way, so obviously there's, I assume you're setting some boundaries, like don't hurt yourself, don't hurt others.
Yeah, I'm really sharp on the boundaries, and but also what you can do is like tell them to push all the the chairs, the tables on the borders. It like breaks their box about being in school.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
when they're with me after an hour, they forget they're in school.
Mm-hmm.
To push all the tables to the side, put music. They can dance.
Yeah.
They don't let them dance in school, and dancing is kind of safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And they dance with costumes. They're really like, whoa, it's like school became heaven for a minute. It's like a dancing as a dragon,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. Mm. Um, I remembered one thing I wanted to ask, which was, were there any beeps that you got along the way, like feedback from students where something wasn't working? Like you had an idea, you had something you wanted to do, and it didn't work, or it didn't land.
Yeah, a really great beep I got in the beginning, and I'm really happy I got it from the owner of the company that I worked in the beginning. She said you didn't notice, but there was one kid at the side. He didn't participate, and you didn't put attention on him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's not about rescuing this kid, but it's about like holding space for him to be able to get the chance
Mm-hmm.
to join.
Yeah.
So for me, I was kind of concentrate on the activity, and I wanted it to work for all the kids, but I forgot to look around. And
Right.
where is the kid that is left behind? So it's something about that.
Yeah, definitely. And is that when you kind of changed tack to just go with the flow and improvise based on what's happening? So if you saw a kid who was not participating, who was on the sidelines, you would draw him in.
Yeah, I like give him a role or
Yeah.
something, and I'm like checking with him because sometimes they're really sensitive. So sometimes they're like they wanted a specific role and they didn't got it, so that's
Right.
why they went to the side. Or so I'm
Right.
like checking that with them,
Yeah.
and I had another thing. Like I'm improvising a lot, but I also have a lot of games at my belt. So if you want me, I can send you a bunch of games and stuff. And
Yeah, I would love that. That would be awesome.
yeah.
Um, I had one other thing. Yeah, and what about kids who are just so shy, who are just like so quiet that they are scared to participate at all? Is that something you've encountered?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean it's not a magic wand or something, these classes,
Mhm.
but it's a process. Like when I got to work in the same class for a while, I saw how the kid that was more shy, I saw that he's going through a process, and I saw that something shifted.
Mm.
So that's why I was like, okay, I'm happy with what I'm doing. I see that it's working,
Mhm.
but it's not a magic wand. You just what you said about the dynamic in the class, I think it's huge. I mean, it's important. Like in the beginning, I was not aware of that, but they like when you put in two kids together,
Yeah.
sometimes these kids just fought, or sometimes they had a thing, or
Yeah.
and it's like be able to read that and to sense it, and so with the shy kids, it's like I don't know. Sometimes I used to buddy them up with a group of like four kids, and it's like you're doing this mission together,
Mm.
and that really helped to bring them in. And
Mm. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that if these kids have a lot of great space holders and a lot of people, I think their sensitivity, like, can, because shyness is kind of like fear, but
Yeah.
it's because they're very sensitive.
Yeah.
So they can discover the superpower of this sensitivity.
Mhm.
That's my new book that I'm working on, by the way,
Mm.
Sensitive Superpower.
Mm.
It's like, if they have great space holder like you and people that doing this work, they can start to see the superpower in that,
Mm.
in their fear.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It also brings up for me, like, I wonder if it would be useful to have some kind of, like, even before you tell your story or you do the centering, or the first thing is to have like another game that helps you, that is actually about like information gathering for you, where you get to see a little bit of like, okay, how are these kids interacting, like what is the space, what is the dynamic that I'm walking into right now, and like that can then help you get some, yeah, you just get some information about like, okay, now I know like these two kids are like, these ones are best friends, and like this one is really shy or whatever. um so
Hmm.
um
Yeah, I think
okay.
it's a great idea.
um and you're writing a book, your book is about sensitivity.
Yeah, I already finished it. I'm now just translating it into English.
Cool. um
Sensitive Superpower.
Awesome. um I
But I just want to say about what you said. What you're saying is huge, and actually I missed that. But when I go into a class, I'm going in like this. Usually I have like a pirate or hat or like elven ears, but I'm going in like this. I'm really like scanning the room,
yeah.
and like I have this really, I don't know, I have this sharp sword
Yeah.
and a really great scanner that like.
Mhm.
And with experience also, when you get used to that age level, you really can see a lot in like a minute.
Mhm.
Just I'm
Yeah.
quiet and I'm get and I see who's the first kid that's gonna say that, or who's the first kid that's gonna say, it's like kind of
Mhm.
repeats itself.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we're just about at the end of our time. So, Dor, thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I learned so much, and I'm really excited about, yeah, thinking about how I can start to bring this work into the spaces that I'm in.
Yes. Go. All right, Anna. Thank you so much for having me. It's great. I feel a lot of joy of having this conversation, and hope to see you more in other spaces and connect.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.